So this is like a really compact version of a database-based application using a simple table and a form. I don't even know if there's an actual dedicated interface for the database itself or not, because I didn't do that. I didn't create a table or manage database info directly on a database table or anything. I had to use a Java code to do everything, so I'm not really sure what exactly is MySQLite is. But anyway, here's the code eventually. That's the final result. Ending result is this. So that's the Java class I set up, and this is the view. You could probably see the resemblance. SQL view. This is another class or snippet of the program to display the view. This is the view. This creates that view, and this is also additional activity to do all kinds of processing for the database. So there are four different files to create this tiny little app. So let me talk about the database first. How I set up the database. I set up the database here. This app is for recording people's names and how hot they are. And this class, Java class, does all the data recording, data processing, and the data outputting and so on that a regular database would normally do. And it looks like it's using the SQLite database class. So it's a class, and you can't really see the class. It's one of those Android SDK library. And so I'm using all kinds of features stored in the SQLite database class. Again, as usual, I'm calling the database SQLite database our database. So instead of so the database is going to be referenced as our database throughout this application. It's very similar. It's similar to a regular SQL statement. Create table name, ID, key row ID, integer, and primary key, and auto increment, comma, and key name. It's for a person's name, and that's going to be a text and cannot be null. And the third column is the hotness, and it's also text, and it's not null. So it's just like a regular SQL statement, but executing that is different from like a MySQL or PHP. You use a exec SQL method. So there are little resemblances with PHP and MySQL, but a different terminology and a slightly different structure. And same thing, creating an upgrade statement here. And to upgrade, first you need a drop table, then create a new one. So that's how you do. So it's a little bit different. It doesn't really update directly on a table, unfortunately, dropping and creating a new with the new information. So in other words, it's like replacing the whole table with the same name. And here there are more detailed operations, like this function is going to create entry, and this is going to get data. This is going to get a name, retrieve name from the database. This is going to retrieve the hotness from the database based on the ID number. See where it says a where statement somewhere. Oh, there it is here. So there are some syntax rules that you need to follow in the table name, which column, and where statement here, and so on. So I just follow those, and it does update entry thing. Because there are a lot of lines, I don't want to get into the specifics about each method or line, but basically this processes, you can see that this page, this entire code processes the database information. It handles the input and output data. Then there are a lot of custom-made functions here, or method I should call, for in Android development. These methods are actually used in here, and that process data is going to be sent to the appropriate places, like for example in a text box here, or text view. Oh, one thing I forgot is SQL view. This also has a content view XML associated with it, so it's right here. So if I switch to graphic layout, see, it tells you, okay, name, hotness, level. This view, that Java class uses this layout view. So this page put all the data together, and they are all simultaneously displayed in this view. View data, SQL view also gets some information from these two classes and process it a little bit, and displays data on this view. Anyway, let's let me just run through this page a little bit. So there are a lot of variables involved, because I had to first of all display, there are three things: an ID, name, and hotness, and also I use different variables for updated value for those, and the variables for buttons, text views, and so on. So on click. So on create is the biggest container again, so it holds the entire application for this class. Of course, a lot of clicks are involved in this, so that's on click. And under on click, all the clicking associated actions or actions, what do you call it, activities are defined, and mostly switch and case are used to create the framework or structure for a logical structure, when certain things should happen. So first block here is defining the actions for the buttons. Update button here, view button, and modify button, delete button, and that's it. Obviously, update button is supposed to, when I say update, it actually meant create new entry. So it creates new entry. So it takes person's name and hotness value and try to put that into the table of the database. Simply it sends, I'm using the hot or not class to handle all that. Then I'm gonna open that hot or not. This is actually like a big program, big function to process all that. So I am calling it entry, then I'm opening it, then I'm creating an entry, and create entry name hotness. It's part of the it's actually in here. So I'm calling pointing to create entry method or function here. So this part is going to be executed when right here, entry, create an entry, and sending the variables name and hotness. So if I use Harumen, Koichi 100, then that'll be sent to create entry function or method I set up here, and it receives the string value for the variable name and string value for the variable hotness. Then it does the processing, and processing is pretty similar. What it does is use a put method to put the data into a key name, that's a column name in a table, and also key hotness, and that's the value. Then we return the value on our database, and we insert the database table into the database table with the CV content value, and that's what we return, and that's going to be used for retrieving the data later on. So basically it's similar way and also to get information and to modify. They all have to access the same thing, three things: the name, hotness, table name. The difference is once those data are sent to this hot or not class, they're processed differently. So they're sent to different methods. For creating, adding a new raw, it was sent to create entry method here, and to retrieve the data, it's sent to get data. And if you want to retrieve the name, of the raw, then you need to send the data to here. You need to refer to this, and if you want to get the hotness number, you refer to this method. So putting all this together, of course I couldn't have done it without following the lessons, but for the time being, I'm not gonna create something like this from scratch yet. I'm gonna just keep using the same format, same structure, with the different values to set up somewhat usable applications for language learning somehow, and you see the end result. Anyway, I'm just blabbing, so I'm gonna stop here.